Welcome back to the Walker Valley Football Coaches Show, presented all season long by Wholesale Supply Group. I'm Andy Morris, joined as always by Walker Valley head football coach Drew Akins. Coach, it's week 5, Smith week. Looking forward to big things this week.
Yeah, dude, we're excited. We're coming off obviously a big game. It's been a big 2 weeks for us. I've been really proud of how our guys have bounced back. The attitude that they've had has been awesome. And it's just kind of carried over into this week, and we had a really good day today, and expecting a good week this week. Excited to travel again to Smith County. It's going to be a week where we get to focus on us a lot and try to continue to get better as a program as we go into this week.
And Smith County is 2-2 on the season, and we're going to dive into them a little bit later in the show. But first, we're going to do things a little bit different this week. We're going to recap last Friday's Knox-Carter win, 42-14, and we're going to break it down by quarter. So starting off early here in the game, Ryan Lay to Tristan McCann for a 71-yard touchdown. Coach, just kind of talk about the energy that got going for the team.
Yeah, just kind of leading up to that, we talked a lot in the pregame about how we needed to be the more physical football team. So when you're playing against the team that does the things they do, we talked about it a lot Friday, the tempo at which they played and they snapped the ball, it makes it a thing where you have to make sure defensively that you're the more physical football team, because when you're flashy, that all looks really good until you get hit in the mouth and you don't want to line back up again. So I thought really our defense set the tone coming out that first drive, and they were able to go in and give us the ball back really quick. The first drive we went 3 and out, punted it back to them. Defense got another stop. And then we came to the first play. You know, that Tristan McCann touchdown was the first play of the game of that second drive. And for us to roll out, we had an idea going in that anytime the quarterback scrambled, we were able to pull that corner up. And when he pulled up, it created a hole between the corner and the safety. So I knew there was an opportunity for the deep ball. We always read that low to high. So it's always, hey, is the low route open? Is the middle route open? If not, the high route is either open or there's nobody for the quarterback. So it was a good opportunity to go through his progression. I thought we blocked it really well. It's probably the best we've blocked sprint out this year. So I was really excited to see that. And Ryan just threw a perfect ball. Was really excited for Tristan. You know, that's one of those, that kid just shows up and works, and he doesn't complain. He doesn't really talk very much. But for him to go make that play, it was really special. And for him to start out with that kind of energy was a big-time play. You know, 71 yards for your first touchdown is a big deal. And
he showed a lot of speed on that play.
He did.
To get down the
Listen,
sideline.
he has it. He has the ability to do those things. He showed us that in JV for years. We've known that Tristan's a really good receiver. We just haven't been able to get him the ball this year just because sometimes they take that guy away. You know, if they're going to play wide and play deep on him, it makes it really hard to get that outside receiver to the trips, the ball. So we found a way to do that with that sprint out. And it was really exciting for him to get to catch that ball and to start the game out like that. You know, one play of the week on News Channel 12, that was exciting. Being able to see, I was watching us go through play number 5. Well, ours was better than that. Play number 4, play number 3, and continue to be like, man, Tristan's catch was bigger than that. It was a big-time catch. It was 71 yards, more yardage. And then to get to number 1 and see that pop up, it was really cool and excited for him. He deserves it. He worked really hard and really won that spot in the spring. It's just kind of held on to it. So it was fun to see him get a reward for that.
That's great. And then Eli Wilson came on to kick the extra point, putting the Mustangs up 7-0. Eli's been pretty consistent this season up to this point.
Yeah, I've been really proud of Eli. You know, first year ever kicking for a varsity program, and he's been so consistent and so coachable. Ethan Taylor, the soccer coach here, has really done a great job helping our kickers, coming out once or twice a week and talking through them about the mentality and their process and what they do. He's done a great job with that. Really proud to have Ethan a part of our program and have Eli a part of our program. He's done such a great job. He's got a strong leg. You know, he's going to be with us for the next 3 years, and that's exciting because to see where he could go in the future gives us a lot of stability in our kicking game.
So later on in the first quarter, Ryan lay to Spencer Jackson for a 21-yard touchdown. Coach, we saw a lot of energy from Spencer throughout the entire game, but especially after that second touchdown for the Mustangs.
Yeah, really cool drive. That was a drive where we put together a couple runs, came back and got a fourth down in our load package. And, when you get a first down, you go tempo, and we went tempo on it, threw a screen pass into the boundary. We've done a good job with screens, kind of being surprising. A lot of times you get into screen game and it's third down and long, and it's a little predictable. We as a defense, we yell DSP, draw, screen, pass. That's what DSP is. So we always yell that. So you get into a down where they're not expecting screen, and you hit them with a screen, it gives you an opportunity to have big play there.
And then, of course, after the Spencer Jackson touchdown reception on the screenplay, Wilson once again, sure thing, on extra point, making the score 14-0. So, Coach, just to kind of go back a little bit, we've seen the past couple of years how good Spencer is out of the backfield receiving the football. Talk about how important that is to your offense, being able to have a guy like that.
Yeah, anytime you can add a guy that can touch the ball multiple ways, it makes it really difficult. So you see the things that we do with Spencer. It's not just hand the ball to him out of the backfield. Yes, we call him a running back, and he's our starting running back. But we do so many things with him. We'll move him to receiver and throw him the ball. We'll run, across his face and make it look like an outside play and let Ryan run in behind him. So we'll use him as a decoy, but he's such a talented kid when it comes to catching the ball out of the backfield. And you hear a lot about that, how dangerous that is, because there's a lot of times that linebackers don't have the ability to cover a running back. Those guys in the secondary, they're the body type that is made to cover receivers. But if you can find a way to get those linebackers on a more athletic kid, you got an opportunity to have some big-time plays. Our running backs did a great job on Friday night of doing that. Spencer had 5 catches for around 50, 55 yards, I think. And then Tucker Owenby, same type of back. He's a little more physical in the run game, but he played receiver for us last year. So, catching the ball is something that Tucker does really well. He's a natural talent at it. And being able to watch him, catch another screen, and I think he had 2 catches for, again, like 40 yards. Well, when you add that up, our running backs had 7 catches for almost 100 yards. That's a great night for those guys. And both of them had, 3 total touchdowns, and they were all through the air. And that's a great weapon to have as a play caller, because now you have to worry about so many guys touching the ball in so many different ways. It makes it really difficult. What we're going to have to do as a coaching staff is develop more ways to get them the ball in the passing game, because it's been such an explosive play for us that we've got to develop more ways to do that aren't, again, obvious to a defense, where you're not telegraphing what you're doing. We need to design some things where you can kind of smoke and mirrors that and still get them the ball in space, because that's what our game is right now. If you go back and watch, ever since we played Bradley Central, it's been really difficult. It's been kind of a change in mentality where that game was very difficult to get the ball in space. Well, ever since then, we've kind of made a living just get the ball into the holes of the defense. I think we kind of changed our mentality after that game, and it's really, really been productive through the air for us with Ryan the past 2 games, averaging just over 300 yards the past 2 games, and having 4 touchdowns last week and several the week before. So been really fun to watch that, just kind of watch how our offense has kind of progressed. And what it's done is it's opened up the run game. This week it was Ryan in the run game where he was able to run for a lot of yards. Last week Spencer had 90-plus yards running the ball. So being able to throw the ball into these windows has expanded the defense out, and it's created run lanes for our offense.
And, Coach, that's one thing that in past weeks and even this past Friday, Coach Linus and I have talked about, Jacob and I, weeks prior. You and your staff do a good job as teams start to bring guys in the box to stop the load package, the power package. We see you swing Spencer out or swing Tucker out and get them the ball in open space, and it works really good, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a chess match. That's something I watch. I think one of the things that I do really well is in game I can see kind of where the numbers are. And this is all, we've talked about it, on the show. It's just a numbers game. How many guys are in the box? If there's 5 in the box, you better be able to run the ball. If there's 6, 7 in the box, you better be able to throw the ball. Luckily, I've kind of seen us progress to where we can run the ball against a 5-man box. Our line has really made some really good progress over the last couple weeks. It's really made play calling much easier because you can trust the run game a little bit more.
So, Coach, at the end of the first quarter, it was 14-0 Mustangs. Second quarter, didn't skip a beat. Ryan Lay to Tucker Ownby for a touchdown. I don't have the exact stats on that, but we do know you were talking about the stats for Tucker running back. He had 2 receptions for 43 yards, and on that touchdown play was one of them.
Yeah, it was a 38-yard touchdown. Again, we had kind of driven down inside their territory. Our defense did a great job early in the game just getting us the ball back. I knew, and we kind of talked about this, I think, in the post game, that it was going to be a bend and don't break kind of game. I think when we got to halftime, they were very similar yardage for both teams, but we were up by 14 points. So it was one of those things that I told Coach Harvey early probably midweek that, hey, it's going to be a game where you're going to give up some yardage because the way they play, they're just trying to get as many snaps as they can get. Well, when you get 50-something snaps, you're going to get some yardage. You're going to gain some yardages. But we were able to make sure when they got inside the red zone, inside the 30, inside the 20, we were able to bow our back because the way the field condenses, if you can't run the football, which they were not able to run the football against us, it makes it really difficult, to score inside the red zone where you're just throwing it. That tempo does really good to move it from 20 to 20. So if you ever watch these tempo games, you get a lot of teams that get the ball to the 20, inside the 20. They are able to move the ball really well until they get to the 20.
And then they stall
out. And then
it
stalls out. And you're like, why does that stall out? I don't understand. Well, what happens is the field condenses. So now the safeties can play a little bit tighter. The run game is no longer, if you can't run the ball, you can't stay in manageable downs because the pass becomes so much more difficult. The windows are so much smaller. So really proud of what our defense did, just weathering those storms and knowing that, hey, once they get inside the 30, it's going to be really difficult for them. So we were able to turn them over, got us the ball back, drove down on their side of the field, and again, just kind of one of those well-timed screens. Not an obvious screen down. Tucker did a great job of slipping out. Again, the other side of the offensive line got out this time, so this time Ethan West was able to slide out to a blitzer. It left a guy blitzing straight up field. Well, he didn't recognize the screen. Raul Hernandez now was the lead blocker out there, had just enough block. It doesn't take a whole lot on these screens with athletic backs. So he had just enough of a block. Again, Jackson McGowan's able to get in front of it and kind of spring it open. Tucker did a great job of making their safety miss and then outrunning them to the end zone. So, again, his first touchdown. So, 2 guys with their first touchdowns on big-time plays create a lot of momentum for us early in the first half.
So, Coach, I'm glad you touched on the defensive side of the ball because we've just been going through scoring drives here. Defensively, it was a challenge that you guys answered the call to, but the pace of the Carter offense at the beginning of the game, just in the radio booth, Coach Linus and myself were kind of fumbling around trying to get our live reads in, but their offense was snapping the ball with 30 seconds on the play clock. We kind of talked about that during the post-game interview Friday night, but talk about how they adjusted to that, and as you said, eventually as they get downfield, they stall the offense, but how they just kept pacing, how you kept fresh legs in the game.
Coach Harvey and Coach Ashby came up with a really good plan. I was really impressed with, hey, they're going to snap the ball every 10 seconds. I mean, literally, if the clock got below 30, it was like, ooh, they're slowing down a little bit. So being able to snap the ball as fast as they do is really impressive. And it caused us some issues earlier. We practice a period we call fast team every single day. So what we do is we line up and we just get as many snaps as we can get in a 5-minute block. Well, typically we're getting probably 12 to 15 snaps in that 5-minute block. So when you think about that, let's say we get 15 snaps in that 5 minutes. We're getting, 5 snaps every minute and a half. So that's going really fast. So we practice that a lot. It's not foreign to our defense to see that. So that gave us some background knowledge of kind of how it's going to be. Now, obviously they had the ball for longer than 5 minutes at a time. So those periods kind of drug on, and they did it the entire game because, again, they're just trying to get quantity. Well, the plan we came up with defensively was, hey, let's just not move anybody. Let's leave, and we had a field side defense and a boundary side defense, and nobody moved. Well, if you watch previous films, we're switching corners, our safeties are trading, linebackers switch sides of the field. We just kind of cut all that out and said, hey, what's the most sound defense we can play and have the least amount of movement going on? So what a great plan by our defensive staff, and our kids just executed. And they just kept playing, and understood that, hey, they may get some yardage, but you don't get points for getting yardage. You get points for getting in the end zone, and we did a really good job of keeping them out of the end zone. The one touchdown they did get was a 4th down and 7 that we just kind of had a little mental lapse on.
And that's right. That was toward the end of the first half. Carter scored on a 32-yard touchdown pass, which not terrible coverage on, just a well-placed ball.
Yeah. They ran straight number 3 vertical. They got a little bit behind us and threw a great ball. The receiver made a great play on it. Still a little frustrating just having something on top of us on 4th and 7. But that's a learning situation for us. That's something we've got to cut those things out. When we talk about, hey, when you get a chance to end a game, you've got to squeeze the life out of them. And that's one of those plays that we had an opportunity going into halftime to squeeze the life out of them, and we weren't able to capitalize on those things. So that tells you, man, we still got work to do. As good as we are defensively, and I think we're one of the top defenses in the state. I think we've got to understand when critical moments are happening, we've got to make those plays to kind of take the life out of the other team. We had 2 plays right before halftime that gave them more energy. That 4th and 7 that we gave up, and then the fumble on our side of the field. I think if we go down and score, it's 27-0 at halftime, and now all the life is out of it. Well, instead, we gave up that 4th and 7. We fumble on their side, and it's 20-6 at halftime. So there's still some critical errors that we got to get fixed up. But going into halftime, 20-6, feeling like we had a lot of momentum, it was definitely a good start to the game.
And, of course, Carter missed the 2-point conversion on that touchdown. Kicking issues are something as a Carter team that you don't need to have when you're the type of team that drives down the field these quick plays and then stall out in the red zone. Not being able to kick field goals is something that you saw come back to bite them a little bit as well. So going into halftime, it was 20-6. And with that, Coach, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to cover the second half of the Carter game and the upcoming game with Smith County. Welcome back to the Walker Valley Football Coaches Show. I'm Andy Morris, joined by Walker Valley head football coach Drew Akins. And as we've been recapping last week's victory, 42-14 victory at Knox Carter, we're now going into the second half of that game, recapping that. To start the third quarter, Coach Carter, a 6-yard TD run and a 2-point conversion put the score at 20-14. Kind of, how did you feel after you kind of let them get back in the game at that point?
Well, so there's so much that happened. We say it's a 6-yard run and it's 2014 now. So much happened in that little start to the second half. We got the ball. We drove down. We started a drive out. We got to 2nd and 1, and I thought we had a bad penalty called against us. They called us for a chop block. I think pretty evident on film it was not us chopping.
And that was your first penalty of the game. So we didn't touch on this. Couple things I want to touch on from the first half. 0 penalties for the Mustangs in the first half. And also, defensively, Eli Denton goes to halftime with 20 tackles.
Yeah, what an unbelievable game by that kid. But, listen, that's part of discipline. These penalties that stop drives, we didn't have those. We did a really good job of making sure we were doing our job and doing it legally with not holding, not creating penalties, not creating negative plays with those things. And when somebody puts the ball in the air, as much as that is, to not have defensive pass interferences or holdings, that's really impressive, and it kind of tells you how great the plan was defensively and how well our defensive backs played throughout the game.
Very smart, disciplined football.
No doubt, and played, all of our defensive backs. Brady, Montgomery had a big-time hit. Day-Day had several big plays against their number one receiver where he was knocking passes down. Spencer had great leverage all night long. Thought Winston Hicks, coming back off injury, has played really well. Excited to have him back. Excited for that kid. He just wants to be a part of what we're doing, and for him to get back healthy and be able to play is awesome. I thought Gio Angeles had a really good night. We just had a bunch of guys. Braxton Smith.
Tucker Ownby.
Tucker Ownby had a great night. When you look at his stat line, you're like, man, he would have won Defensive Player of the Week any other week,
That's right.
Other than the special night.
I believe he had
Eli.
17 total tackles.
Yeah,
that is Tucker Ownby.
just so impressive what our defense did. Now, when somebody snaps the ball as often as they snap it, you're going to kind of rack up. But still, for those guys to have those kind of nights was really special. But we came out, we had that penalty, and kind of got out of sorts. It got us way behind the line of scrimmage. I think we were 2nd and 15. We had a drop on 2nd down, which made it 3rd and 15. And that's just you're not going to be really successful on 3rd and 15. Later in the game, we had a really big-time play on 3rd and 10, but those just don't happen very often. So coming back out, we had to punt after that penalty. They drove down, had that run, and they really took a lot of the momentum back with that.
That was their best drive of the game.
Absolutely. They ran the ball really well that drive. Again, they finished off with a 6-yard touchdown run. That was probably one of the longer runs of the night. So it kind of got on us. We weren't flustered. I don't want to say that. I was showing a lot of emotion about that penalty. I really and I wanted to. I wanted our guys to see me defending them. I wanted them to see, hey, I'm not going to let somebody take advantage of you, and knowing that it wasn't a situation where you did something wrong. I wanted to see our guys. I wanted our guys to see me defending them, and I think that kind of led to, hey, let's rally this and let's get back in it. So once they scored that, I knew, okay, I got to calm down. I got to get over it, and we got to put together a drive here because they have all the momentum. And I thought 2 of the biggest plays happened in the next 2 drives, and they were both on special teams. So the first one, we had a penalty on the touchdown run. We had a face mask, which made the next kickoff 15 yards further up. Well, they're already going to kick onside kicks, so now it's just 15 yards further up. An onside kick's coming. So, Cole is able to get on the onside kick pretty easily. He gets hit late, which gives us that 15 yards back. We get the ball at the 50. And from that point, we really have a great drive. We were able to run the ball really well. I think Ryan started out with a run followed by a Spencer run, both for first downs. Drove down inside their 10. I think they got a penalty, an unsportsmanlike penalty, hitting Kyler after the play. We got into our load set, our heavy set, which typically has been really good for us. The first one we kind of bounced and only gained a yard, but the second one we fit inside on power and were able to get into the end zone. Ryan was able to kind of bully his way into the end zone there. Went for the 2-point conversion just to make it a 2-score game, a legitimate 2 touchdown and extra point game. Ryan made a great decision on that. We ran our little sprint out play that we like on the goal line, sprinted out. All of our receivers were covered. They did a good job with Cade in the flat. They covered Cole on the corner, and Tristan had a little sit down. Well, like I said earlier, on a sprint out, if all the guys are covered, that usually means that nobody's there for the quarterback. And Ryan made a great decision and a gutsy play, willing his way into the end zone there. Really created a lot of momentum for us. So I thought Cole, being so calm, cool, and collected, recovering that onside kick, getting hit and stealing 15 yards, us going down and retaking the 2-touchdown lead. At that moment in the game, those were critical plays that we needed to make, and that was a critical drive that we were able to convert on.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Cole Harbison showed how tough he was on a couple of plays in a row there on the kickoff as he fielded it from his knees and got hit. We couldn't believe that the guy ran into him. We thought surely he's going to stop. And he lit him up pretty good. Then on that same offensive drive, Cole runs a slant route, and a safety comes up and hits him pretty solid, and Cole's back on his feet. Yeah. So that just goes to show you the type of kid that Cole Harbison is as well, just a tough kid.
He's such a competitor. That's the word I always use with Cole. He's one of my favorite kids, not in football, but just everyday life. Last year he decided not to play. And listen, he's a great basketball player, and I understood what he was trying to do. But, man, the kid's just a competitor, and I just love his mentality. I love his attitude. I love how he goes to work. Like you said, he's tough. He's always willing to take, a hit. That getting hit by the safety, we showed him on film today. It's a little bit on his route. He's a little too vertical on it. So we got those things cured up. That's a great thing about these wins. It's so fun to fix these things after a win because now you can go and you say, hey, if you run that a little flatter, you probably cross that safety's face.
When they're not costly mistakes.
Yeah, you may score on that. So that was a great teaching moment for him. But, man, when you talk about toughness and competitor, that kid's as good as it gets, and I love watching him play. I'm so glad he's with us. He always has a great attitude. He's always there to work, and love him being a part of what we're doing.
So after the Ryan Lay touchdown run out of the load package, 2-point conversions, the 2-point conversion, you guys go up 28-14 and don't look back. So once again, next drive, Ryan Lay 20-yard touchdown run, and really Ryan showed his versatility all season, but kind of lead us up to that possession that put you guys up 35-14.
Yeah, kind of the second momentum play that I was talking about on special teams. We have a kickoff the next drive. Right after that touchdown, we kick it off. They fumble the kickoff, and we tackle it inside the 15. We get a 3-and-out on defense. I remember walking past Coach Harvey right after we scored that to make it 28-14. He was down there about to start the next series on defense. We had just kicked it off, made a tackle inside their 15. I remember walking by Coach Harvey and just saying, hey, it's a big drive, man. We need to stop here. And for them to come out defensively, 3-and-out, they threw a boundary screen. We tackled it, hit it right in the teeth, almost intercepted it. Our guys did a great job rallying to the football, made a tackle on second down, and then again on third, kept them behind the sticks where, all night we were worried about them going for it on fourth down. We knew it was going to be a kind of a 4-down. No matter where you are, you're in 4-down territory. Well, when it's 4th and 10, it makes it a little more difficult. So not only did we not give up a first down, we didn't give up yardage to let them go for it on fourth down either. So they punted it back to us. We got the ball, I think, a little bit on the negative side of the field, but it went straight into the same offense we were doing. Gibby started that drive out with a couple of catches. Gibby had, I think he ended the night with four or five catches for, 50 or so yards, but big-time catches. He had the hitch, he had a stop, he had a slant route late in the game that was beautiful. So we kind of attacked with Gibby. That's the cool thing about what we're doing offensively is as we see teams adjusting to, hey, Tristan caught a deep ball, so let's adjust to that. Well, that opens up Cade. Cade catches a couple balls. They start overplaying him. It opens up Cole. It opens up Gibby. And we're able to just, hey, whoever you want to cover, we have somebody we can throw it to instead. So, Gibby had a couple catches. Again, we went back to the run game in that. And Ryan is just so talented running the football. And we made a nice little adjustment where we flashed away with the running back and came back and run counter away. Well, that created some smoke and mirrors, and again, it's a discipline thing. I thought we were more disciplined than they were in that when we ran that jet sweep motion with the running back, the linebackers eyeballed that, and it took them away from the play and allowed us to have a really clean. If you go watch that clip of film, you can see that that motion by the running back pulls the linebacker away. We hit the front side of the power. Ryan actually cuts back to where that linebacker should have been, but with the eye candy he took, that linebacker's not there, and then Ryan's able to run it in from, I think it was like 20, 25 yards out. So it was a really good play design. We had talked about running our counter play all week. It turned out that running counter with Ryan as a quarterback run ended up working out better for us. And at that point, we kind of captured all the momentum. That run kind of ended. But what I told our guys today is in critical moments in that game where things could have went really south, our guys kind of grew up a little bit. You saw our guys grow up. Against Bradley Central, it's 4th and 1. This is our critical moment, and we're not able to make the play. Well, 2 weeks later, I feel like we've kind of learned from that. And this week, we were able to make those plays in critical moments, and it really allowed us to kind of pull away at the end.
And as you said, you guys absolutely did pull away. Just to cap this thing off, another touchdown pass to Spencer Jackson in the game. Extra point good by Wilson, making it a 42-14 final. Coach, we've spent a lot of time talking about the offense specifically. We've touched on the defense a little bit. Before we go complete defense, the offensive line. How good did your offensive line play in this game? And those guys we don't talk about them. You do a good job getting them out there, but we don't do a good enough job bringing them up. So I want to make sure we spend some time on your O-line.
Yeah, I thought it was the best game that they've played. Now, we've put a lot of pressure on them. When we practice, we go through practice, one of the things we've changed in the last couple of weeks is we're doing a lot more best on best. Our best offense versus the best defense we can see. Well, what it's done is it's created a lot of competition within our practices. And when you're going against our defense every single day, if you don't get better, you're going to get absolutely dominated. And our defense has done a really good job, don't get me wrong, of dominating our practices, where it's made it really difficult for us to be able to really do anything in those competition periods. But what it's done is it's made our offensive line, when they get into games and they don't see Miles Mann, they don't see Jackson Gibson, and they don't see Josh Van Wick, and all these guys that are really causing issues, and Eli Denton on a blitz, and Judah on a blitz, and Tucker Owenby on a blitz. Like all these guys, well, Friday nights become a lot easier when you're going against that in practice every day. So, I think that has a lot to do with our practice. But our offensive line played with great energy, great effort. It's probably the best I've seen us play. There's still some pass protection things that we've got to get cured up. There's some slide protection where we got to hear the call a little bit better. Our technique can be a little bit better in certain places. But I thought our energy and our effort was much better on the offensive line. I'll tell you the guy that kind of quietly goes about his business and just does what he's coached to do and has very few negatives. Alex Smith has just done a great job throughout this year at right tackle. We haven't had very many pressures from that side. He's done a great job of being in front of his guy, making sure he doesn't miss assignments. He just quietly kind of goes about his business, and really happy for that kid. He's been in our program since I've gotten here, but this is the first year he's really kind of bought in and really committed to what we're doing, and it's really paying off for him. Just being able to watch him be able to go out every week and just quietly do his job. It's been a really special year, and I'm really proud of him. But Jackson McGowan actually ended up winning a co-offensive player of the week just because offensive line-wise, he was a leader this week, and he played like a leader this week. And man, if you could give me 5 Jackson McGowans, you would have a hard-nosed offensive line. But I thought our other guys really came along. We still got some little technique and a little things that we got to work on, but not having to coach effort was a really big deal Friday.
So the offensive line, definitely, we've seen them all season long improve, and a great effort, as you said, by them against Carter. So the Carter final was 42-14 in favor of the Mustangs. On the defensive side of the ball, we brought it up a little bit once already when we came back from break. Eli Denton ended the game with 22 total tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, and a sack. Just an unbelievable, and the majority of those tackles came in the first half, and they kind of figured out we need to kind of stay away from this guy.
Yeah, just an unbelievable job by Eli, and what a special game. And he's already been recognized by several news outlets as statewide player of the week or area player of the week. Just what a game by him. If you go watch it, it's one of those things, you see that stat and you're like, like you got to the point where you're just giving that kid tackles even though he's not there. We get back on Friday night. We always watch the game film as a coaching staff, and we're like, hey, we're going to count these. And as you start counting, you're like, oh my gosh, he really did get this number of tackles. 22 total tackles, 19 solo. So you talk 19 solo tackles, 6 assists, the tackles for loss, the sacks. Just an unbelievable game. Like I said earlier, Tucker Owenby had an unbelievable game, played great. And most weeks, his numbers win player of the game.
17 tackles for Tucker, also 2 pass breakups.
Yeah, but not even close to what Eli. It's unbelievable. What a game by those guys. And that's without even getting into our secondary. I thought Tucker really played a very disciplined game. That position that Tucker's playing, typically – you don't see a whole lot of tackles. You don't see it's all about the discipline of doing what you're coached to do. It's a very unsung, very offensive line type position where you can do your job. Somebody else makes the tackle and gets the glory, but you're the one that made the play. And throughout the night, I thought Tucker did a great job of just doing his job, and it actually turned into a great stat night for him as well. So defensively, man, I'm just so proud of what we've done, where we are defensively right now, being able to hit our goal 3 out of 4 games with holding teams under 24 points. The one game we didn't hit our goal, we hold them exactly to 24. They're playing really well right now, and we've got to continue to do that defensively, because if you're holding teams under 24 points with our offensive firepower, it's going to be, pretty difficult to beat us with that kind. I feel like our offense, if our defense holds them under 24, that we should win, because us as an offensive staff should be able to find a way to score 24.
And speaking of that offensive power, Spencer Jackson, 2 touchdowns, I believe, on the night for the Mustangs. Both were receiving touchdowns. And not to mention quarterback Ryan Lay, we're used to seeing what he's capable of doing. He was 21 of 31 for 316 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. So Ryan's setting the standard pretty high for what we expect of him every week.
Yeah, 6 touchdowns, it's hard not to win player of the game. And, on top of his passing yardage, he also had 71 yards rushing too, and two rushing touchdowns. So what I saw out of Ryan was just a kid that really just grew up. We've coached him really hard over these last 2 weeks and demanded a little bit more out of him over the last 2 weeks. Demanded more in practice, demanded more with his decisions. We've got to demand a little bit more with his ball security. He put 2 or 3 on the ground the other night that he's got to understand, hey, this ball is so important. It's the most important thing that you have on Friday night is the ball. So you got to protect it a little bit more. But, man, I thought he grew up a ton. The play that kind of we haven't talked about, that was kind of the big play of the night that we haven't talked about, it's 3rd and 10. The drive right after we got those penalties, or the one penalty that kind of put us behind. It's 3rd and 10. We roll out to the right, regular pass pro. We roll out to the right, and Spencer actually runs his check down route the exact way. I showed it to him on film today. Well, when Spencer runs his check down route, the linebacker comes up to get Spencer, and it opens up a window behind it for Cade. It's the play Cade actually gets hurt on. But Ryan makes a great throw over the middle to Cade. Cade runs probably 5 more yards and gets tackled. Got a little hip pointer. I think he's going to be okay. But that's a big-time play and a big-time moment on a 3rd down. And we talk a lot about 3rd down efficiency and making sure that we stay on the field. And that was a huge play to show his maturity. The same thing with the last touchdown play. 2 weeks ago, he would have threw that in the bleachers. On Friday night, he goes through his progression, really looks the safety off before checking it down to Spencer for an easy touchdown. So I think we're seeing Ryan really mature and understand how important the football is, and we've got to continue to coach that.
So with that, we're going to go to another commercial. That was the final of the Carter game, 42-14. This week, week 5, the Mustangs will travel for their 2nd road game in 2 weeks at Smith County. We'll be right back, and we will go over what we expect for the Smith County game Friday. Welcome back to the Walker Valley Football Coaches Show. I'm Andy Morris, joined by head coach Drew Akins. This is Week 5 Smith County week, and this show, as usual, sponsored by Wholesale Supply Group. So, Coach, kind of tell us that we've got a long trip ahead of us up to Carthage, Tennessee, and it's going to be an 8 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. Mm-hmm. So kind of give us the lowdown on what's going down this Friday.
So traveling to Carthage, once again, I'm really excited. It's been nice to kind of get out of our facility and just allow our kids to be just solely focused on football. I thought our staff did a really good job. Our booster club did a great job of just keeping everything as normal as we could keep it last Friday. It really created a really easy night for our kids to be routined and to go in and just play their game. And they were able to focus on football, which was a great night for us. So it's exciting to get back on the road. We're traveling up through Cookeville and over to Carthage. So excited about getting up there. Smith County has a tough football team. They play in a region. Back when I was at Red Bank, we were in cross region. So we played each other in the playoffs a few years. And they're just a hard-nosed, tough group of kids. What you see on film is some really, really big offensive linemen. They run ISO and buck sweep. They'll run right at you. Their quarterback is a really good runner. They have a running back that's a larger Heath Tanksley type kid where he's just a bull running. He's really hard to tackle. They're going to run it straight at us. It's going to be a completely different night than it was, on Friday night, where it was fast and we're throwing the ball everywhere. Friday night's going to be a slow, methodical 3 yards a clip, just trying to run it right at you and have these, 15, 20 play drives where they're getting 3 yards a clip. That's kind of what they want to live in.
A complete different type of game than what you played a week ago.
Literally 180-degree difference from what it was a week ago. So it's going to take a mentality change. We're going to have to totally change scheme. It won't be at all the same scheme as what we were last week. So we're going to have to get in tomorrow and do our Oklahomas and understand how physical this game's going to be, where it's going to take some physicality and some violence, a different type of violence. Last week it was looking up crossers and hitting receivers. This week it's going to be hard-nosed, plugging gaps, making sure that we're able to get them in long-distance yardage. Because if we can hold them on first down efficiency is going to be so big. We talk a lot in our competition periods about, hey, first down. That's what our our competition is going to be tomorrow is, hey, can you get 4 yards on first down? Because if you get 4 yards on first down, the likelihood of getting another first down expands exponentially. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Same thing on defense, though. If they don't get 4 yards, it's going to be really difficult for them to continue the drive. So getting 0 or negative plays on first down is going to be something we have to focus on. Get them into long yardage situation where they have to throw the ball, which they're not very efficient doing. That's going to be a challenge, though. It sounds really easy. Oh, okay, just stop them on first down. Well, they're getting 3, 4 guys in at the point of attack, and that makes it a lot more difficult when they're running buck sweep outside. They're running ISO inside. They're going to have 3 or 4 hats at the point of attack that you have to shock and shed and make a tackle, especially when you add in the quarterback as a runner. So it's a totally different game. From game 1, they've totally changed their game plan. They had a younger quarterback, a smaller quarterback, game 1. They changed that for week 2, scored more points, and then it's really turned into more points these last 2 weeks. Defensively, they're a hard-nosed, tough team. They got some really big defensive linemen. Number 71 is a really good player at defensive end. Number 74, I think, is like 6'3", 280, big nose tackle. Their quarterback also plays Mike linebacker, and he's just a tough kid. It's that 3A, small, everybody, you play every snap, but you're hard-nosed. You never come off the field. You just fight, and this is what kind of game it's going to be.
And, Coach, their schedule, their past schedule this year is reflective of what you were saying. Week 1, they had a tough 14-0 loss, couldn't put any points on the board. Mm-hmm. Week 2, they lost 33-14 to DeKalb County. When they made that quarterback change, as you said, they've kind of turned things around. They scored 56 points in week 3, winning that game by a score of 56-16 over Maplewood. And then last week against Westmoreland, another win, 18-0. So this team from Smith County has kind of turned things around up to this point in the season.
Yeah, you see that out of them. They've made a lot of progress since game 1. They made that quarterback change. In the first week, DeKalb, with that little quarterback change, it took them a few series. But they really had that game 20-14, same deal, and just weren't ready to finish that game. These past 2 weeks, they've really dominated the football game on both sides of the ball. At 18-0 sounds really close, but when you watch it on film, man, they were absolutely dominant in that game. So it's going to be a game that really does look totally different than last week's game. They're going to try to hold on to the football. They're going to try to make sure that we don't get snaps, that we're not able to get in a rhythm offensively. So it's going to be really important as a defense that we stay off the field, as in on third down, we make sure that we're locked in and we're ready to get them off the field on third down. Because, if it turns into a game where it's 3 yards, first down, 3 yards, first down, it's going to be a long night and a tough night for our defense to stay rested, and the physicality of that game, it's going to be difficult.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you breaking down the Carter win from last Friday and your insight on this week's game against Smith County, our Week 5 matchup. So with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day here with Coach's Show. And you guys that aren't going to be able to make the trip to Smith County, you will be able to listen to the game on 99.1 Sports. Jacob Mason and myself will have the call on 99.1, kickoff at 8 p.m. So pregame show should go on around 7 p.m. here Eastern time. So with that, Coach, thank you very much for coming on with us again today. And once again, One Valley,